in this area, something which has been definitely lacking for many, many years and needed to be addressed. And we're so glad that Margie has the energy she has and has coordinated with a team. She said, I got a team who are also as energetic and enthusiastic and passionate about protecting, to study and preserve African American history in this Deep South area. We have a unique history here, and unless someone undertakes soon to preserve it, with the situation with coastal land loss and us being constantly looking at removal because of the loss of our lands to the sea, this needs to be protected. And as people pass away, it's harder and harder to find the necessary information we have. So Margie keeps in touch with me fairly regularly, even though I don't answer my phone. She knows that she comes through messages after messages after messages. But everybody else knows I'm like that too, so they forgive. Yeah, I do forgive. Thank you. But I particularly got interested in African American history years ago while she's finishing setting up. I'm going to tell you this. There used to be an old priest in the diocese who was from definitely old school, if you know what I mean. And my uncle was a priest, and so this old priest was the archivist at the diocese archives where there were a lot of records. And you've heard of all the Adair's books, South Louisiana records, the red books upstairs. And when I started doing genealogy, I realized there weren't that many black people in those red books. I'm like, I know there were black people around here, why aren't they in the books? And I always was curious about that, but I wasn't really researching any of those lines. I went to tour the archives one day, and the lights, there's only one light shining if you ever turn the lights on. He's deceased now. The archivist they have now is absolutely awesome, Kevin Alvin. I'm not talking about Kevin. But this elderly Monsignor, I went in, and he said, would you like to see the vault where they store the records? And I said, oh yeah. He says, well, since your uncle's a priest and I'm friends with your uncle, I'll let you into the vault. And I walked through the vault, and one of the first things I noticed at the top were there were the early record books, black baptism, black baptism, black baptism. There's a lot of black baptisms in here. Why aren't all of these in Father Adair's books? And the response I received was, those people aren't interested in their history. They don't want to know that. So Father Adair left it out. I'm going, oh my God. So I said, well, could I make copies? He goes, no, we can't let the books out of here. He says, what I can do is I'll let you sit here and write down the things one by one. So that's what I started doing, and that got me interested in African American history because I started seeing things I had never been exposed to before. And it kind of opened my eyes quite a bit. It was a learning experience for me. And I still have a lot of information that I need to type up and put together. I've got a lot done, but I still have a lot more. So through all of that, Margie and I got to discussing researching and this cat. We used to always discuss researching black history, black ancestry. And that kind of led us into fields of similarity and interest. And so when she's ready, she's going to tell you how this project that she has here came about, and it was really kind of a meant to be type thing. But it was because of the foresight of several people. One, an unknown lady who recognized that this information that she found was important, if not to her, to the history of our community. And so she saved it. But then she didn't know what to do with it, so she found someone else, and they found me, and I found Margie, or Margie found me, one or the other. But anyhow, it's a whole progression of how this stuff was saved. The point I want to make is, if you find anything, even if it's not your family, pick it up, save it, get it to the right people, it needs to be saved. And my children, I have 3 sons, my 2 oldest ones, swear that when I'm dead, they're going to go burn my house down with all that genealogy test. So I told all my friends when they hear I'm dead, run to my house. Do not let my children have my stuff. They know what to do. Do not let my children touch anything. But because they don't appreciate what it is, like I do. But there are other people who will appreciate what I've collected over the years. So we just have to find the right people. But, almost lady? So my point is to preserve everyone's history. Louisiana is rich with culture for years, with multiple diverse cultures. And a lot of cultures we don't know anything. I never knew Croatia and the Philippines were very big in the forming of Louisiana. Who knew? That's why when you go down St. Bernard, you got all these people whose last name ends in S-K-Y, you know, Dombrowski and Satanovich and all this. Different cultures have blended here, but still remain unique, and we need to preserve as much of it as we can. So we encourage you also to publish any information you have. If you do research, and you've researched your family history, then it is my opinion that it is your responsibility to see that that research continues. That story, that's your particular story, gets passed down to your descendants. The only way it will happen is if you do it. I had an aunt who used to read, she did a little genealogy for a while, and she was furious. Why they didn't put our family in all those books of early Terrebonne Parish? I said, well, maybe it's because you didn't write it down for them. They weren't going to put what you didn't, they would put their families. If you didn't do it, that's your problem. You know? So that was my attitude to her. Now it's up to me. Because she said, oh no, you do it. But it's up to you. If you want your family history protected for the future, then you need to do it. You need to do it now before it's too late. If you have, I'm sorry, I can't see half of you. I'm tall and luckily I'm loud. If you have family members now who are elderly, please make arrangements to visit with them quickly and bring a video camera and videotape it. There's a video, there's an oral history project up in the Terrebonne Parish Library upstairs in the genealogy department. You can check it out actually, but it's all been transcribed by members of our society. In the 1960s, Glenn Petrie, a movie producer from this area, went in and recorded elderly people and asked them about their lives, just ordinary living in their lives. And he's got a whole series of them. They were on cassette tapes, and the tapes were all he do half of one on one tape, on another half hour on another tape. They were a mess to do. But we had volunteers who did a wonderful job transcribing them. And my grandfather was number 1. And it was all in French. And he laughed a lot. And when you listen to it on the tape, him laughing sounds like a chipmunk. But it told stories. And it told family stories I didn't know. So if you have people today living, record their testimony, put it in a library, an archive, a museum, put it somewhere where it can be protected for future generations. And you cannot guarantee that your children or grandchildren are going to appreciate it as much as you do. I can attest to that. So any history that you have, if you want it to be perpetuated, save it in a place that's not liable to be hidden. A lot of people say, oh, that grandma gave me those pictures. Grandma wanted me to have those pictures, so none of the cousins can have them. We see that a lot in genealogy. Thankfully, with electronics now, we say, okay, I don't need the pictures. Just let me scan them. You can keep them in your house. You can collect dust all you want. Let me scan them. I'll take the digital copy. I'll print them on. So they can be shared. Sharing is the only way to preserve history. Share and to preserve your version of history. Because history is written all kinds of ways. And it's usually written by the winners. So unless you were in that group, your ancestors were in that group, your history's not being written properly. So make sure you write your history. All right, great. So Ms. Margie, okay. I'm gonna let Margie Scoby, most of you know who she is. She's the director of Finding Our Roots African American Museum here in Houma on Roussel Street, and has a wonderful story to present, and we look forward to it. So I'm going to sit down and shut up and let her talk.
All right, you guys. Oh, Lord. I'm sweating. Y'all feel the air conditioning?
All right. Thank you guys for inviting me, Ms. Patty. Thank you so much. First, I want to recognize the Terrebonne Parish African American Genealogy Group. Can y'all stand, please? Let me get started. Well, you guys heard my introduction. I'm just a small town girl in a big world. A world that is filled with so many wonderful stories that we are constantly tapping into. On today, we will share with you several of these stories that we have found.
With the families with Napoleonville. When you say Alexander Dumas with the Three Musketeers, there are 3 Musketeers buried in the cemetery in Napoleonville. That's where they got the name Napoleonville.
I'm not sure. I do know there's a Dumas family that ties into the Lawless family. And so the Lawless family ended up in New Orleans and then also in Baton Rouge. And believe it or not, all these guys, except for Mr. Lewis, all of these people were doctors, medical doctors. Okay.
I'm just stunned. We're talking about identifying the pictures. It's just, I've been looking at these pictures for years. I've had a lady went to an estate sale, and she saw these, she said, they were going to throw everything, I gotta be now. They were going to throw everything away at the end of the day, people who had the sale. She says, this had to be important to somebody, so she bought them. Then she went to the Folk Life Museum in Lockport, and she told Dee Gobert there from the Rouge Heritage Society and the museum, here, I bought these, maybe you can figure out what to do with them. I bought them in Terrebonne Parish. So then Dee Gobert contacted me for Bayou History Center and Terrebonne Genealogy and said, these are from Terrebonne. Do you want them? They're not Lockport. What do I do? I said, yeah, give them to me. I'll figure out what to do. I put them in a box. I scanned everything. I did a little research, but got nowhere. And then I got busy on other things. And for years, I've been moving the box from place to place, saying, one day, I'm going to figure out where these go. And I run into Kat at the medical place in Thibodeau, and seeing her like that, and I had just moved the box the day before. I said, Kat, I got something for Margie. I got to give to Margie. I got to tell Margie to call me. And sure enough, and Margie got excited right away, and I'm going, I'm glad she's excited, but I don't know who these people are. There's no names on anything. And then she's been telling me for the last week, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm so excited. And she wouldn't tell me anything. So I can see why she's so excited. This is it. And you want to know, our family is related to Reynolds.
We got some stories to tell. Yeah.
It's ironic that it goes like you said,
Yes. And so, again, here you see these jars, and we're going to tell you what we're doing with this. We've been going out to the local plantations and collecting dirt. We have a list of those slave owners, and what we're going to do is we're going to do an exhibit on the dirt of all those plantations, because we're going to talk about how our families toil on those places. And of course, anybody that wants to get their genealogy research done, we are available for that. And what we're going to do is we have small vials, and we putting that dirt in those vials. So any family after completing their research, we'll give them that to say this is the soil in which your family's fall on. So that's about it. I got to get time.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm here.
He's scared her and said, "You only have so much time."
This dog, I didn't know.
I think, can we open the floor to some questions? Do we have any questions?
You ever heard of the Bond Theater?
The Bond Theater? Yeah. That's the one on the corner of Bond and Lafayette? It was called the Dreamland. It was owned by African Americans, Dreamland Theater.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there. Actually, they use it as an annex building for the church across the street. New Salem Church. Anybody? Come on, young man.
I have a question. What about children in
Yes. Yes. They went to Ohio, and it was placed in a college called Auburn University, or Auburn College. That's in Ohio. Oblin, Auburn. Yeah. Anybody else? Some of them did. One came back. Matter of fact, Fanny came back. Fanny married a Duvall from Terrebonne Parish. So. Come on,
I'd like to ask you if you had identified each picture individually, in case they get misplaced, like Patty couldn't find who they were, and gave them to you. Did you identify the pictures on the picture itself?
Yes,
Okay.
we have done that.
Who's the little girl with the little animal?
That little girl is Mary Height.
A baby girl?
Yes, she's Mary Height. No, Mary is this with Mary? No, that's not. This is Miss Cora. This is Cora Smith, and she attended Leland College. Anybody else have any questions?
I just have a compliment, Ms. Margie. I think what you're doing is really impressive. I think your brain is beautiful, that you can remember all of these details, and I just can tell that you really study this and you know this and your heart is in this. And I think it's an inspiration, and I'm really glad that you were able to share this with us today.
While she's still stuck up here, this is Wanda Moore, our editor. We have a journal, the Terrebonne Lifelines. We've been publishing it for 37 years. It's all upstairs in the genealogy department. We desperately need people to submit African American history articles, history about families in this area. Like I say, people write their own families, they usually don't write other people's families. And for years, this is Louisiana.
The Borkins and the Dumas did marry with each other. Can the Borkins family say it? Miss Tiny, I would like to present to you your great-great-grandfather and mother. That's if you see, now these pictures were sent to me by Mr. Clay, and all after he and I started digging and looking, everybody ties in. So this is your great-great-grandmother, and this is the one you said you knew his name, but you didn't know how he looked. That's Candace, and that's his wife. That's family. So I'll give it to you this morning. Oh, this is the Alexandria Dumas guy. Check that out. This sounds look alike or what? Come on, y'all, be honest. We genealogists. Don't they look alike? Okay, that's Alexandria Dumas. That's the guy that wrote the 3 Musketeers. You remember the one you gave me? They look just alike. Compare them when you get a chance. All right, and then here you see this is his father, the guy. Alexandria, Thomas Alexandria. He's the one to fight in the Revolutionary War. And then here you see this wonderful guy here. Who's with the Lewis family? Anybody? That would still be you, Rebecca. Yeah, that would still be you. Because your great She married the Lewis. And so this is Mr. Lewis. This is Alfred Lewis, and this is that rare picture. That's Mr. Lewis. He was famous for that. He was also, he got awards in Preservation Hall, and he also got a letter from President Ronald Reagan wishing him happy birthday and a couple other things. So that's it, you guys. I thank you. I don't know if you guys can see it, but State Bank is a direct descendant of Thomas Jefferson. And I'm sure most of you have heard the story of Thomas Jefferson and his slave Sally Hemings. Anybody heard of that? Okay. I explained to Shay what I found, and she said she was not quite interested because she felt like everybody wanted to be part of the Jefferson story. Well, I've read the Jefferson stories, and that was the reason I wanted to be connected. But at the same time, that was her quote to me. And I was just like, I was stunned. Like, Lord, okay, the Jefferson must be some powerful people. But I just, again, I moved on, and she said, if your find is anything of interest, I'll get back with you. And of course she did. She and I had a chance to talk about this find, and it's been many years. But the find, I'll say that, it stopped at a point. But on September 2019, I received a message from Catherine Brown. She told me that Patty Whitney had something to give me that she had been having for a while. On September 27, 2019, I attended the Terrebonne Genealogy Society meeting. And to my surprise, Patty handed over a box of treasures. On the top of that box was a picture of a well-dressed woman and a little girl. Patty pointed out that the little girl reminded her of someone from the African-American community by the name of Margie Scoby. I took the box with joy in my heart and happiness in my feet. That box contained so many wonderful clues that led me to the people that once lived and thrived in this parish. The letters of Dora Reason was my starting point. I called Miss Sadie George. She told me that she had heard of Mrs. Reason and she knew someone that I could get in touch with by the name of Mr. Lewis. But also, there was one guy by the name of A.J. Brooks that had came to the museum, and she knew for certain that Mr. A.J. Brooks knew how to get in touch with Mr. Lewis. I called Mr. Brooks, and he was busy with his family. And so he promised me he'll call me back, and he did. My phone rang with Mr. Brooks' name flashing across the screen, and my heart started pounding. I answered the phone without any salutation. I went straight to the question at hand and I asked Mr. Brooks, how can I get in touch with Mr. Alvin Reason? I placed that call, I introduced myself, and I said why I was calling. I told him what I had in my possession, and I could hear the excitement in his voice. He asked about the wonderful pictures, postcards, and letters. I told him that I told him how I got them and the plans we had for them. He went on to tell me about the family. I sent him a copy of the photos, and he was able to identify everybody in the picture but one. A few weeks later, I received some pictures from Mr. Clay Wilson, who resided in California. Again, unbeknown to me, that family ties into the same family. I have been waiting a long time to tell this story. Several people that have left their marks in this place we call home. And for those of you, in this place we call home, I'm moving too fast, Patty. I'm excited. In this place we call home. And many of those pictures connect to those people. The one thing that I come to realize is that my timing is not God's timing. People are put in your path for a purpose, a reason, and a plan. And I want to thank you all for coming together to work and working together as a community. The past is just that. Our pain we remember and our history we will tell forever. So with that being said, I'll get started with this story. Clap, y'all, clap. All right, everybody knows Thomas Jefferson, right? My daughter was supposed to hand out some nickels, because this story is called a pocket story. So whenever you jangle your pocket, you're going to always remember this story. Y'all ready? Start out with Thomas Jefferson. Of course, you know Thomas Jefferson was the third president of the United States. He was married to Martha Jefferson. Martha Jefferson, he also inherited slaves from his wife's father. And this guy, Thomas Wales. He had a slave named Betty Hemmings, and so Thomas Jefferson inherited these slaves through his wife, through that marriage. Thomas Jefferson and Martha Jefferson had children by the name of Martha Jefferson Randolph. Martha Jefferson Randolph married a guy named Thomas Mann Randolph. Also, after Thomas Jefferson died, and you can kind of follow me here, his slaves and all that he had was turned over to his grandson, Thomas Jefferson Randolph. Thomas Jefferson Randolph, of course, needed to try to save a lot of Thomas Jefferson property because he went into debt. And so this guy, Thomas Jefferson Randolph, sold Susan. And so Martha Jefferson Randolph, she wrote a letter to her daughter, Ellen. And she said we needed to, they felt bad getting rid of Susan, but of course Susan was the first to be sold. Susan was sold to James Cage. And everybody knows James Cage, right? I see you saying, yes, James Cage was here in Terrebonne Parish. He bought Susan here. He went to the courthouse. He registered Susan as his concubine, along with those children. And Susan and her children are listed as people of color. So I clearly knew that they were black children, right? And so with that being said, James Cage, also it came to, so he used to see Susan's name, and these are her children, James Cage, Thomas Mann Cage, Randolph Cage, George Washington Cage, and William Randolph Cage, and Elizabeth. So that's them here. You see those two little people? These are the Cage girls, or the Randolphs. And the reason why Susan said she wanted to leave, she said she wanted to leave. What's the chances of that happening with a slave? That didn't happen, right? But she said she was going to leave, and she knew who she was going to leave with, and it would be James Cage. So she did leave with him. They came to live here on Woodland Ranch. With that being said, James Cage had slaves. And in James Cage slaves, that was one named Joseph Vance Lewis. Joseph Vance Lewis Sr. was the father of Joseph Vance Lewis Jr. And he also had a son named Frank, and also one named Isham Lewis. And Warner Richard Wright was one of those slaves. Now what happened with this story, and I'm rushing it through because I only got a limited time. What happened with these slaves is, Joseph Vance Lewis, he became an attorney. He was the first to serve on the United States Supreme Court. He was the best known attorney in Texas, and his house is now listed on the National Registry of Historical Places. Now we have Warner Wright. Warner Wright was friends with Joseph Vance Lewis. Warner Wright's father, Richard, was friends with Joseph Vance Lewis. Actually, he encouraged him to go into Leland, and you'll see that as you go. To Leland, which was in New Orleans, located on St. Charles Street. And so Joseph Vance Lewis' friend, Richard encouraged him. He went with $64. And he got into the university, and he told him he'd pay his tuition if he could work, at the place to work off his tuition. And he did that. But Warner is the son of Richard. And Warner also went on to further educate himself, and he became one to serve. He was the best attorney in Beverly Hills, California. So also, he donated $2 million to USC. He was the only one to donate that kind of money. So just think, a child from a former slave from Terrebonne Parish, wow. And so at this point, he's the only one to do so. Here you have Frank Lewis. Now Frank Lewis also was a brother. And Frank Lewis married one of the Lewis girls here, Eliza. And Frank and Eliza married, but Eliza was that of Eliza Height. They were children of Wesley Height. Wesley Height had a son named John. John Wesley Height donated the first piece of property for the African American public schools in Terrebonne Parish. It was called the Home of Colored School. And then also they had a daughter named Fanny. Fanny Height married Dumas, John Dumas. John Dumas was the son of Alexandria Dumas, who was the son of Alexandria Dumas. That was the Three Musketeers. And then his father, was the one that fought in the Revolutionary War. The first to die, actually. The first black to die in the Revolutionary War. And then also here we got Cora Height. Now Cora Height, she was married to Abe Lyons. Abe Lyons was the grandson to Jenny Lyons. And Abe Lyons' father was George Washington Lyons, who was the sheriff of this parish. Cora had a daughter named Dora. Dora Lyons Reason. Dora Lyons Reason married John Reason. John Reason was an architect, and he was the one to build the African American Museum where we reside today. So, this find to me, I'm sorry, go back to James Cage. James Cage, with these children, he had several of them, it was 8. So we speak on those 8 children that got through the Underground Railroad from Terrebonne Parish. Those children was listed in Levi Coffin's book. And he said that he was talking with Harry, and he needed to give these children the freedom. So that's why we can speak about those black children that left Terrebonne Parish to get the freedom. Mr. Dr. Grisham have an answer for you. Here we said, we talk about Thomas Mann Cage, or Randolph Cage. Thomas Mann was one, he was very influential in getting the sugar cane to survive here. And so he did live at one point at the Southern Museum. Now I'm talking to Cole often, she said she got to go. So I said, girl, that's Thomas Mann. And so Thomas Mann did die, but he was very influential in the survival of the sugar cane, right? And so this is his piece showing where he died. He died at Southdown. You can see Southdown Plantation. Back to James Cage. James Cage here was the father, per se, to this guy. But in James Cage's will, he said for his children, he wanted this guy. I'm sure y'all familiar with the Texas Rangers? Anybody familiar with the Texas Rangers? Yeah. Y'all know about the Texas Rangers? Well, he said because he was married to the Ranger was married to James Cage's sister, Elizabeth. And in his will, he said he wanted them to be over his children. These slave children, free slave children, he wanted these people to be over his children's money. And so that's good, I mean. So I just couldn't believe that these people were connected. And then again, this is James Cage's tomb. This is the big house. Now I've seen it several places, and they said the Cage's house looked like so and so. But according to Joseph Vince Lewis, that resided at that house, he got someone to sketch the house. So that's how the house looked on Woodland Range. I'll go down the line. This is Susan and Martha. They're the ones that came in with James Cage. This piece here, this is Jenny. According to Jenny Lyons, she says, I am the wife of Simon Lyons, and that they were married before the war. So this piece here, if anybody want to read it, you can. And this is where she resided, on the residence plantation. She was the head cook for Barrow. This house here is one we're working on, because this house now will be registered on the National Registry, because that house still stands. Matter of fact, and the Lyons family stands. Jenny Lyons, great-great-grand, that's the Lyons family. Joseph Vince Lewis, this is Joseph, and of course, he's the one to wrote on his life with the Cages. He also, in his book, it's called Out of the Ditch. This is a copy of his book, if anybody want to look at it. This is the university in which he attended. This is his friend, his father, his friend's son. Also, he went to jail, and Mr. Cage, it's kind of like I got a sketch of Mr. Cage, he came to his rescue. This guy here is Patty. This is John Dumas. Yes. Got it? That's John Dumas.
I got the pictures, but I had no idea who the people were.
This guy, he is I'm not sure his name, but it's H.J. Clark. And I'm not quite sure, I couldn't connect him to the family. This young lady here is Cora Smith, and she was a friend to Miss Dora. can the Height family stand? Yes, this would be your great aunt. H-I-T-E. This is Dora. Dora Height line. That's Dora. Dora was married to Abe Line, who is Miss Jenny's grandson. And then also, here you'll see those letters and all this great stuff Patty gave us. This guy here, Brother Tillman, you ready for this? This is John Reason, the one man that built that museum, or built the African American School. So you know John, that picture, that's John. And then here you see this picture is a very rare find. Because I don't know if anybody ever heard of Alfred Lewis. But Alvin Lewis was a famous banjoist in New Orleans. This picture is his baby picture. Those letters, yes, there's letters and all that stuff that Dora was writing on, and she mentioned Alfred Lewis. Alfred Lewis is the child that she cared for. That was her godchild. And he was the son of Eliza Height Lewis. But that's a very rare piece. Here you see the Dumas family again. Dumas was married to Amelia in the Dumas family stand. All right, okay. And then, let's see. This guy, you see, this this Dumas, John Dumas. If anybody could Google Alexandria Dumas and look at this man, it's identical.